Sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith. Hey, this is Pastor Matt here with your Missionary Pathway Mission Insight. And this Mission Insight is going to be a little bit unique because while we talk a lot about mission insights and the missionary pathway and how it can help you learn how to make disciples in the places you live, work, learn, and play, we haven't really shared the story with you behind the missionary pathway or the leap of faith it took to make this platform happen and ultimately to make it free. You see, the missionary pathway was developed shortly after I stepped into the Kairos Network full-time. And stepping into the Kairos Network full-time felt like a huge leap of faith. I was leaving my comfortable parish call where I was a pastor that had a salary and benefits, and I was stepping into this network where we were going to train church planters and everyday missionaries and help churches learn how to share the unchanging gospel in an ever-changing world. The only problem was to launch the network out, I had to leave the full-time salary and step into a position where I wasn't making anything. That's right. When we launched out the network, I went down to zero salary, which was a huge sacrifice for me and my family, but it felt like what God was leading us to do. And so as we began to develop the missionary pathway and we realized this was going to be an incredible thing, not just for church planting, but for average, everyday Christians to learn what disciple making is all about and how they can share Jesus in the places they're already going and how they could then turn around and help somebody else learn how to share Jesus. It was exciting. But then Trey said it. The thing that made me feel like I had to make another huge leap of faith after I just felt like I'd made a huge one. He looked at me and he said, and you know what we need to do? We need to make sure this platform is free, that anybody can access it for free, that anybody can walk through these modules for free. And I remember when he said that, everything in me was like, I would love to do that. But here I wasn't making a salary. And now the thing that I was spending all my time working on, all my time working toward, was now going to be given away for free. Well, that felt like a huge leap of faith. But as I thought about it, Trey was right. When it came to disciple making, I didn't want to create a disciple-making platform that some churches could afford and others couldn't, or a disciple-making platform that would create a lid on somebody's ability to make disciples. I didn't want a church to have a limit on how many disciple makers they could make. I wanted it to cost the same for that church if they wanted to take 10 through or 100 through. Trey and I's heart for disciple making was we need to just help people learn how to make disciples, and then God will take care of the rest. And I'll be honest with you, it felt like a huge leap. But once again, it was another leap we needed to take. And I am so glad we did. You know, the missionary pathway is free. And when we started out, we had 18 people in 2 cohorts. Now there's over 330 that have engaged with the platform in a little over a year and a few months. And there's second generation cohorts that have launched out. That's right, over 330 people in 8 countries, most of them in North America. And let me tell you something. The really cool thing is there are people that are now teaching other people through the missionary pathway how to make disciples, how to share the gospel in the places they live, work, learn, and play. And the best part is they're not adding cost to their ministries to do it. They're training everyday Christians. There's everyday Christians who are training other everyday Christians how to make disciples. And so I feel like that step of faith was well worth it. And that's why Trey and I are committed to keeping it free. See, the missionary pathway is a tool to help you learn how to share your faith in everyday places and how to teach other people how to do that. It's a tool to help you learn how to do what Jesus always called us to do, which is to go and make disciples. And it's a tool that people are using to not just make disciples, but to see new churches planted that are connecting disconnected people to Jesus. And when I see that impact, I'm so excited that we made the missionary pathway platform free. So how are we able to do that? Well, one of the reasons we're able to do that is because through the Kairos Network, we've developed contracts where we work with churches and districts and networks, and we help teach people how to use this process. And when we do that, we do charge because we want to be able to keep this platform moving forward and to be able to continue training church planters and everyday missionaries like you. So when we step in and do those contracts are charged. And that's one of the ways that we support it. Another way we support it is we've gone out and we found some great grants, and we've had some churches that have come alongside and supported making the missionary pathway possible, and all the other resources that we're doing here at the Kairos Network. They make sure that even though the platforms are free, they realize there's a cost to those platforms, and they make sure we can take on the burden of those costs so we can continue sharing that with you and helping you make disciples. And then finally, the way we keep it free is by churches and individuals like you who see the value, who have experienced the impact of the missionary pathway or the mission insights or some of the other resources that the Kairos Network is helping to develop, and they come alongside and decide to support it. See, the Kairos Network is a 501c3, and our whole goal is to be able to help you share the unchanging gospel in an ever-changing world. Whether you want to plant a church, whether you're just an everyday Christian who wants to learn how to make disciples, or whether you want to pair those things together, or you're a church who's trying to figure out how to engage with their community. We come alongside and we help in all those areas. And so when you support the Kairos Network and when you support the missionary pathway, you make things like the missionary pathway possible for others to be able to engage with. And so it's free because you help us make it free. And so whether you as an individual help support, or whether your church or your network or your district helps support, your support helps make the missionary pathway possible. And if you'd like to be a part of helping us continue to make that possible, simply visit theKairosNetwork.com. That's theKairosNetwork.com and click on Give. You can support the missionary pathway directly, or you can support any of the other things that we're doing through the Kairos Network, because our goal is simple. We want to help you share the unchanging gospel in an ever-changing world. And we're taking leaps of faith to do that so that you can take steps and leaps of faith of your own to do that. Because our hope is simple, that you would be a part of helping to connect the disconnected to Jesus by going out and sharing that unchanging gospel in your ever-changing community and your ever-changing world. So thanks for listening in to this Leaps of Faith Mission Insight and the story behind the missionary pathway. And I pray in this season of generosity that you would consider being a part of helping us keep this platform free and helping to make more disciples who will go out and share the unchanging gospel in an ever-changing world.